How come you always look at that old picture?
Oh, kind of reminds me of my younger days, I guess. Sure brings back fond memories, just like life. I can almost smell the heat and smoke.
What are they doing? What's that big machine with smoke coming out? Who are those boys?
Wait a minute, Jim. One question at a time. That's a big steam traction engine running a thresher, threshing wheat. That's the way we did it when I was the size of those boys. Your age and bigger.
Is that what to do with those old-time... whatchamacallit you're always going to?
Those old steam threshermen's reunions? Yeah, that's part of what they do.
You sure go to a lot of those reunions.
Yes, I guess I do with that. Those old steamers get in your blood. Can't get them out. Like a hobby, I guess.
Is that why you collect all those old-time catalogs to keep them around?
Yep. I guess my hobby is collecting memories. Memories of the good old steam threshing days.
Just exactly what was threshing, Gramp?
Well, that was the last job in harvesting grain after it was cut, when you knocked the kernels of grain out of the heads. The threshing machine combed out the kernels and shook the grain out of the straw, and then blew away the straw and chaff. Poured the clean grain out into sacks or a wagon box.
Isn't that what Uncle Frank's combine does, Gramp?
Yeah, but it reaps the grain, too. Cuts it, thrashes it, separates it, cleans it, and holds it for dumping into a truck when the bin is full.
Well, why didn't they use combines when you were a boy, Gramp?
Oh, that was before the days of the combine, son. In those days, they used to cut the grain with a binder, shocked it, and later hauled it away to the threshing machine.
What'd you call that big machine with the smokestack?
That's a steam traction engine. Some folks call them steamers. The engine boils water to make steam and turns the steam pressure into power. Most of them burn coal, but some burn straw or wood. Anyway, the steam power turns the pulley that drives the long belt.
I know. Like with Unc's new tractor when he puts a belt on it to run the mill when he grinds feed for the pigs.
That's right. Of course, the old steamers could never match the convenience and economy of your uncle's tractor or your dad's new diesel for belt work or pulling. That's why our modern gas and diesel tractors replaced the steamers. The early steamers were built mainly for belt work, for threshing grain and shelling corn, shredding fodder and filling silos, running sawmills to make lumber from logs. I recall they had a big Case traction engine running a sawmill at one of the Threshermen's reunions I went to some time back. A steamer on a sawmill is sure a sweet sight to an old steam engine man. And this is one job where the steamer still holds its own in some places. Oh, there's still a lot of steam outfits sawing logs and farms and woodlands throughout the country even today. Say, wait a minute. I think I've got something here that'll give you a better picture of it than all the words I can use. Here, go over there and sit down there. Now, here's what a steam sawmill looked like in my dad's day. They used what they call a portable engine.
It doesn't have any wheels.
No. It was mounted on skids, pulled around like a sled by horses. Now, here's another one. These old woodcut engravings are from farm equipment catalogs that came out before I was born.
That sure makes them pretty old, Gramp.
Yeah, I guess it does at that. Now, here's a real old-timer. The old Case number 1, the granddaddy of all steamers. Built in 1869 and still in working order to this day. This old portable engine had to be pulled like a wagon, but it freed our horses from many killing tasks, signaled the opening of the great heyday of steam power on American farms. Back in 1948, in the Pageant of Progress at the Wisconsin Centennial State Fair, I saw it in operation, running a threshing machine. The old Case #1 is probably the most famous steamer of all time. It started the marvelous change from horsepower to machine power, the real beginning of mechanization in America. After the portable steamers, as the years went by, came a great line of steam traction engines that moved by their own power. The men who built them and operated them engineered a crucial turning point in the settling and the development of our country. Mainly, they solved the threshing problem, made it possible for farmers to thresh all the grain that they could grow. So steam power played a tremendous part in opening up the grain lands of the Midwest, the Great Plains, and the Northwest. The spirit that moves the old steam threshermen to get together at their reunions from time to time is more than just an urge to paint and tinker up and show off their engines. It's more than a tribute to a great tradition in our farm heritage, more than a salute to the historic days when our country's growth would have been stunted without steam power. It's the desire to revive and keep alive and enjoy again and again the jolly neighboring and good times of the old steam threshing days. Neighboring of an extra special kind that's centered around the threshing rig. Come harvest time, the neighbors worked long and hard together, moved from farm to farm till all the grain was in. From sun up to sundown, and sometimes longer, the machinery hummed. And as the threshing crew moved from farm to farm, the women folks worked long, hard hours too, fixing the meals to satisfy the hungry threshermen. How the gals used to compete against each other in setting the finest and biggest spread on the table. Oh, everybody worked like the dickens, all right, but when the job was done, they played hard, too. All the neighbors had a fine time together, I can tell you. Those were good days, boy. All this is part of what that picture means to me.
Can those kind of steamers pull things like Dad's tractor does? Looks big enough to pull a house.
Oh, sure, they can pull. Yes, sir. Yeah, sometimes they pulled buildings. That is, after the buildings were raised from their foundation and mounted on big beams and rollers.
Gramp, if steam engines were so strong, why didn't they use them to pull plows? I bet this engine could pull a great big plow.
You were right again, Jim. Steamers were used for plowing. The last time I actually saw a steamer hauling a plow was up in Wisconsin, the time when I went to the Centennial State Fair up there. But it was just a field demonstration. The engine was pulling 4 bottoms like nothing at all. Could have pulled a lot more. I've heard my dad, that's your great-granddad, tell how they used steamers to break open the virgin lands, the Great Plains, and some of the northern prairies. Those lands had been in native grass for thousands of years, and the sod was mighty tough, harder to plow than any soil we'll ever see again. Say, here's an old photo of a really big outfit, taken back in 1910. Some of those big plows had 12, 14-inch bottoms, each with its own control lever. Now, there was a platform for the plowman to walk on as he tended all the levers.
Why didn't they use hydraulic controls like on Dad's new diesel tractor?
Oh, well, maybe that was about 50 years before hydraulic controls. But some plows did have steam lift. A cylinder on the plow was worked by steam pressure from the engine boiler, much like the portable cylinder of a modern hydraulic system.
Gee, I bet it was fun to run a steam engine, Gramp.
Oh, it was mighty exciting, I can tell you. Yeah, but hard work, too.
Think I could drive a steamer, Gramp?
Well, it isn't like handling a modern tractor.
I can drive our new diesel tractor, even if Dad does say I'm not old enough to drive it by myself.
And why not? You just push a little button and it starts running sweet and easy as you please. You move a little hydraulic lever and the mounted implement responds instantly. You nudge another lever to set it for any depth adjustment you want. So simple and easy that, well, just like you say, a youngster could do it. And you whisk the outfit around a turn with hydraulic power steering. As easy as rolling off a log.
Power steering's one thing they sure didn't have back in the old steam engine days, eh, Gramp?
Oh, now that's where you're wrong, boy. Some of the big road rollers had steam-operated power steering way back around 1910. You see, power steering is not so new as some people think. I imagine if you made it a point to check all the engines that show up at the various steam threshermen's reunions, you'd probably find some road rollers equipped with steam power steering still in good working order. But I don't think the steamer fans that gather around care much one way or the other. Those old steamers are such a sight to see. Warm your heart and stir your imagination with thoughts of how it used to be in the long-gone days of farming when steam was king. But you don't pay much attention to little things like power steering and such.
Gramp, do you have to be an old-time thresherman to go to those reunions? Can boys and girls go, too?
Anybody can go, Jim. Lots of men and women and young folks who've never seen an engine on the farm have caught the steamer bug.
Gee, Gramp, I want to see some of those old steamers. Live ones, really running. Can I go with you next time, Gramp? Please?
We'll see.
Gosh, maybe I'll get to ride on one, huh? Could I, Gramp?
Hold your horses, boy. You're not there yet. In the meantime, how would you like to see some of my favorite reunion pictures? Hmm?
And that's how steamer enthusiasts are born. Like Grap says, you don't have to be an old-time thresherman to get bitten by the steamer bug. Young Jim has caught the excitement and fascination of an historic hobby, shared by a growing host of spectators and participants alike. Old-time steam threshermen's reunions are becoming more and more popular all the time. Like Grap said, there's something about the grand old steamers that gets in your blood, and you can't get it out. So let's take a look around and see a bit of what it is that's making the threshermen's reunions a growing attraction in our land. Of course, the fancy stunts and power demonstrations are always great crowd pleasers. The engineers get a big kick out of showing off their engines and their driving skill. The competitive spirit and pride in the performance well done lives as keenly today as it did in those fabulous days when these same engines helped to forge a new era of power on the American farm. The object of this pyramid act is to show the drivers hair trigger accuracy and split-second control, and the instantaneous response of steam power as he inches the huge engine up and down, or holds it motionless in any position. He uses only the throttle and reverse lever. No brakes, no clutch, no gear shifting. If you tried this with a modern tractor, you'd roll too far before you could stop the brake. The instant power of steam is more like the precision control of the modern tractor's hydraulic system. For example, this inching up and down is a lot like the action of the hydraulic control of the header on a combine. The ramp demonstration is a traditional stunt that dates back more than half a century. Case first staged it at the Illinois State Fair in 1903, then ran it as a standout attraction during the World's Fair Louisiana Purchase Exposition in St. Louis in 1904. The incline is about a 50% grade. The engines weigh anywhere from 6 to 10 tons and up. The purpose of this practical stunt is to show not only the engine's amazing power, but its immediate response to the driver's will, and its safety and stability due to complete and positive control. Again, it's done without brakes, without shifting gears, without using the clutch. It's all done with the astonishing instant power of steam and the quick skill of the engineer. He uses only the throttle and reverse lever to start and stop, to regulate speed, and to hold the engine motionless on a steep grade. Besides the throttle and the reverse lever, and the steering wheel, of course, there's plenty more to keep the engineer busy. He keeps an eye on the steam gauge and manages the fire to hold the steam pressure at the right point. And he watches the gauge glass that shows water level in the boiler and runs the injector to put in water as needed. Otherwise, he doesn't have much to do. The teeter-totter platform balancing show is another real tricky one. It's easy to run the engine up the incline until the heavy machine goes beyond the balance point, the timber on which the teeter-totter platform pivots. Then it takes mighty fancy maneuvering to keep the engine from pitching forward and rolling down the other side. One instant stop is not enough. The driver must reverse the engine slightly and stop instantly again. It takes every trick of the trade to seesaw the engine until its heavy tonnage is perfectly poised over the balance beam. There's a lot of sheer artistry mixed with mechanical savvy when an old pro lays his practiced hands on a fine engine and puts it through its paces. All these climbing and balancing stunts call for some special tricks with the throttle and reverse lever when driving a single crank engine. And most all the engines are the single crank type. It takes a neat touch to start it climbing smoothly under heavy load, and a fine feel for the engine's beat and rhythm to keep it from stopping on dead center. Dead center is when the flywheel crank is in a straight line with the piston, the connecting rod, and the center of the flywheel. If the engine is stopped on dead center, the only way to get it going again is to turn the flywheel by hand until the crank is off center again. But that rarely ever happens to an experienced engineer. A dead center stop would be a mighty embarrassing blow to his professional pride. The tug-of-war between manpower and steam power always attracts a crowd of spectators and fun-loving participants whose good sense is overwhelmed by their sporting blood. Everybody knows how this exuberant romp is going to turn out, so they take it high-spiritedly as a big, entertaining joke, because it's certainly a lopsided contest if there ever was one. When no steam is applied and the engine is freewheeling, the men can haul it back. But the instant the engineer opens the throttle just a touch, feeds the engine a little steam, it's goodbye, boys. Puny manpower doesn't stand a chance. Scale model displays and demonstrations are always another outstanding attraction at the Threshermen's reunions. Among steamer fans, the building and operation of working scale models are activities outranked only by the greater interest in the actual engines themselves. The model builders and their superb miniatures attract a lot of attention. Theirs is definitely a labor of love. Each model represents months upon months of intense concentration, patience, and skill in its creation. The remarkably authentic detail and realistic operation of these models attest the painstaking craftsmanship and enterprise of their builders. Quite naturally, the proud model builders like to show off their powerful little machines by putting them through their paces on some of the same stunts the big engines do. Here's a working scale model, all right, a scale model engine running a full-size groundhog thresher, the forerunner of the apron thresher. The groundhog contains a toothed cylinder, turning in a toothed concave, working on the same principle as the spike-toothed combines of today. The spike teeth comb the kernels out of the heads. They say that this particular groundhog thresher is one that J.I. Case himself personally sold shortly after he started in business back in 1842. Of course, the power demonstrations of the big engines are top features and draw big crowds at every reunion. The traditional device for measuring steamer horsepower is a Prony Brake, almost completely hidden here by the crowd pressed around it. The Prony Brake is a large friction drum that gauges horsepower in a manner somewhat similar to the electric dynamometer used to test modern gas and diesel engines. Another popular steamer demonstration is to lean the engine back in a long belt attached to a big fan and see how fast she'll go. As the engineer pours on the steam, the fan whips the air in a churning blur of speed. The revolutions per minute are registered and recorded on a tachometer. Today, the steam traction engine is a charming relic that has outlived its once vital usefulness. The steamer cannot compare in speed, convenience, and economy with our modern gas and diesel tractors. But that does not dim the glory nor dull the fascination that went with the sharp smell of smoldering coal, the faint aroma of cylinder oil, the steady, hypnotic beat of a steam engine leaning back in a long canvas belt. This beloved memory is kept very much alive by many ardent enthusiasts in a growing number of steam threshermen's organizations all across our land. They zealously preserve the lore and lure of steam. At their reunions, they revive the romance of an era that is becoming legendary and preserve for younger generations the story and significance of the time when steam was king. The 50 years that saw steam-powered plows break open the tough, stubborn sod of virgin plains and prairies for the sowing of grain to nurture a growing nation. That saw mighty steam engines smoothly driving the threshing machines to bring forth incredible floods of grain to feed mankind. Of all the builders of steam traction engines, and there were some mighty names among them, only a few survive to this day under their original names. The famous Eagle trademark appeared on a lot of engines. That's why our company, now busy building gas and diesel tractors, self-propelled combines, and every kind of farm implement, has found it fitting to present this pictorial tribute to that historic half-century of farming when steam was king.